All right. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Let's see. Let's make sure you guys can hear me correctly. All right, so let's have a little conversation, man. You know, I want to have a talk about Mr. Lindsey Graham, and I just want to have a little conversation. So a lot of people have been asking, you know, what happened. You know, I was going to ask you guys, can you actually hear me? You know, just let me know if you can hear me, and just want to make sure everything is going a-okay. If you can't hear me, that'll be bad. And I'm going to make sure everything is straight on my end on the stream before we get into the meat and potatoes of what I want to discuss on the screen, because there are some things that I find interesting that's happening. And those things, you know, yeah, how you doing, Gabriel? You mow it. All right. So yeah, I usually guys let me know if you can hear me on the stream. If you can hear me, and if you can't hear me, you know, just let me know, because I would like to, you know, make sure that you guys can hear me loud and clear. So I got some things I want to get off my chest. All right, so you can hear me loud and clear? Gotcha. All right, so first off, some people have been asking, you know, what happened to the channel? What happened to some of my political views? And the one thing that I want to respond with is that nothing happened. I'm the same guy. Some people think that I've gone full BLM, and it's like, that's not the case. I still have my issues with BLM. I've talked to BLM. I've had some conversations with people who are involved in BLM, and we have an understanding, whereas I have a issue with their organization due to the fact that some of their motivations aren't completely clear, and some of them are deceptive, and that's some of the issues that I have with BLM. However, I remember years and years ago on Twitter, I had a debate with Alicia Garza, and that's the first time I didn't. And this is before she was, you know, before, you know, everything was crazy, and she blocked me. that was first thing. But I remember me saying that if there was legitimately any kind of issues that I could look at and I could say, okay, this is a legit issue when it comes to police brutality. All right, I'll step in, you know, and I'll side with BLM on that. And I guess what happened over time is that I started seeing more and more of that stuff. I started seeing whereas, you know, not so much that the people were justifying some of the murders and stuff, but it was some of the arguments that were being used that were kind of concerning to me. Like, for example, when you look at the Ahmaud Arbery case, the shooting in Georgia, the guy who shot Ahmaud Arbery was George McMichael. He was a former police officer in the state of Georgia. It's very interesting how you get one side of the political aisle who talks about, you know, wasteful government and lowering spending and everything else, and then all of a sudden, when it comes to Ahmaud Arbery, you know, it's like, you know, they don't want to discuss it. You know, they don't want to talk about the fact that a police officer sat on a payroll for 8 years with no arrest powers because he was that much out of shape, and he got paid. The taxpayers are paying for that, you know. And no one even brings that up. But the second that Ahmaud Arbery gets like a jail record or anything else, you bring that up. You know, once he's out of, you know, incarceration, he no longer costs me money. But that police officer does. So who is the bigger problem here? You see what I mean? Like you gotta look at it like a video game, right? Like have you ever played like World of Warcraft? You ever had like a damage over time effect, like a maybe like a fire effect where you just burn damage over time? Well, Ahmaud Arbery, he wasn't damage over time in terms of costing taxpayers money. George McMichael was damage over time in terms of costing me money. So, you know, I find that to be a much bigger issue, personally. Just me personally. Now, I could be wrong. You can disagree. That's cool. But just me personally, I find it very interesting how we have a country. You know, we have political prisoners who get assassinated. You know, you make all kind of memes about, you know, about how he didn't kill himself. But then suddenly a state soldier, a person with a badge, an agent of the state kills somebody, and suddenly you don't want to ask questions. Right? You don't want to ask questions. And in some of those cases, you know, the people were called like terrorists. That's interesting because I'm pretty sure a lot of people were called terrorists in Waco too. Pretty sure about that one too. You know, I was never this hardcore OTL type. If you go through my channel, I've made pro-weed videos as a Trump voter. If you go to my channel, I've come out against urban camping. If you go back on my channel, you see that I've come out against mass incarceration. In fact, I've done that back last year, actually, before the pandemic, before all this stuff. Back in October of 2019, I made a whole video about ending mass incarceration. Now I talk a lot of smack about the Republican Party. So I was mainly talking about South Carolina, which is controlled by Republicans. It's a freaking red state. So if I'm talking about mostly South Carolina, then clearly I'm not talking about left, right? Clearly not. You know, I mean, just kind of like common sense, right? So have I actually changed? No. It's just that you're finally noticing who I am. See, the reason why I don't like this hardcore OTL type nonsense, it's simple. And I want you to understand the reason why I have a hardcore axe to grind against that crap. My friend Jason, man, we were in combat together. He was my roommate in combat in Kandahar, Afghanistan. This is before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. And Jason was gay. And so the unit discriminated against him. They treated him like crap because he was gay. They punished him. They made him march around the barracks with like holding this freaking rifle out and stuff. They made him do push-ups. I mean, call him all kind of slurs and stuff. And I watched that. And I stepped in. I put my military career in jeopardy. But I didn't care. And the reason I didn't care is because for the first time, I thought a white man could understand what it's like to be a nigga. And I didn't look at him as his skin color. I didn't look at him as his sexuality. I looked at him as a fellow human being. I don't think a man deserves to be discriminated against because he's gay. I don't think a man should be treated less than because he has a different sexuality choice. I believe, and this is just me. It's just me personally. I believe that who you are outside of you being a person is irrelevant unless you hurt me or someone else. Who you are as a person, as long as it's not directly hurting anybody, you should be left alone. And that's what I believe. And so, given that I stepped in with Jason and put my military career in jeopardy in combat, actually, cursed out my first sergeant, cursed out my damn commander. I mean, we all shook hands afterwards, and they totally got why I stepped in. They totally got it. But I can't allow someone to be abused or for someone to justify abuse. That is so ridiculous to me. Not only is it ridiculous, it's insulting, right? So the reason why I came out against Candace Owens, and I've had interactions with Candace Owens, and I've been a part of Black conservative stuff a lot. The reason why I came out against Brandon Tatum and Candace Owens and all the rest of those, because the rest of those people is mainly because I know what they're doing. I know they're paid to say the crap that they're saying. And that's a problem for me. You're getting paid to justify murder. But I'm the crazy one. Okay. Cool story, bro. Cool story, you know. It's very weird how we discuss liberty and freedom, but we live in a country that drone strikes people who have not had a trial. And because the government tells you that they are terrorists, they're bad people, you just go with that. You just go with that. You don't question for a second. You don't question if these people are actually the bad people that should die by a freaking missile. In fact, we know that a lot of innocent people, we know for a fact that a lot of innocent people were killed. We know that. That's a fact. I don't think that that's right. And I've always had an issue with the government abusing people. That's why I was always pro Second Amendment. I was pro free speech. I wanted more than two political parties. I've come out against the freaking lockdowns. I think that people should take precautions, definitely. Mostly stay at home for the most part. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. But I don't like the idea of the government locking people down and having cops arrest people for going out to the park. You know, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with the government who shuts down the entire freaking economy, give us $1,200 funky ass dollars, and they have the nerve to want to lock me up and make me pay more money. I mean, I have an issue with that fundamentally. I think that it is blasphemous to the idea of liberty. You could be arrested for just being outside. We can't ever justify that, because you know what the government's going to do? They're going to keep doing that, because they're going to say, "Oh, well, you let us do it. You went out and you let us do this one time, so we're going to just go ahead and just keep doing it." Let me ask you a question. How did the CIA start? FBI? We were told that we were gonna only occupy Vietnam, Germany, and all these other countries temporarily, right? You were told that the Patriot Act wasn't going to be permanent. You were told that. You were told that these wars are going to be over. You were told mission accomplished. The government tells you a lot of shit, don't they? How much is it is actually true? So whenever these people pop up, they say, well, the report says this and the officer said that. I'm going to ask them the exact same question over and again. And I'm going to keep spamming the exact same question. I'm going to ask, why do you think Epstein killed himself? Seriously, I'm just going to be a smart ass and just keep doing that over and over and over again. And I'm going to keep doing that until you get the freaking message. Our government lies. Most everything the government tells you is a freaking lie. In fact, the only way that you can confirm something is true is that you assume the opposite of what the government told you. You know, like with freaking Obamacare, Obama told you that if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Well, if you assume the exact opposite, you actually be right. So that's my strategy. Whatever the government tells me something, I just assume the opposite, because I assumed when Donald Trump and the freaking federal government, they came out at first saying, oh, the coronavirus is not that serious, I assumed the opposite. And I was right. So, you know, people that believe police reports and court documents, all that stuff, I gotta tell you, man, you got a lot more faith than I do. You have, you know, Jesus said, and well, not Jesus, but the Bible says that all you need is a faith of a mustard seed, right? That's all you need. It's the faith of mustard seed. Well, I gotta say, if you believe all this nonsense coming from state actors, right? If I ever start a religion, I want you as a follower. Okay. because you will be a devoted follower, because you'll believe anything that I have to say. And you know, I gotta say, I would absolutely respect that. You know, I love the fact that people out there are so gullible. They're so willing to believe everything the government tells you, because you know, not only do I not have their faith, right? Not only do I not have their faith, I don't have their audacity, right? And by audacity, I mean this. You have people who will talk to you about smaller government. You'll have people who will mention to you about how the government lies to you, about how gun control was started with racism, right? It's very, very interesting when it comes to the gun control and racism part, because that's absolutely true. However, do you see the problem here? I'm going to mention a name, and I want you to spot the problem. You saying that gun control was started from racism, right? Okay, true. Philando Castile. Why the fuck didn't the NRA say anything? You know, my grandma used to always say, as it was then, so is it now. And by the way, guys, in case you're wondering what this little patch is, it's this for Valafor. It's a spirit from the Ars Goetia. Now I'm kind of like a Christian / pagan, kind of. So I kind of got all the gear and stuff, you know. It's kind of cool. So like, you know, I was, that's why, you know, I was always kind of interested in Sticks Hexahammer's content, because we were kind of similar, but, you know, we don't agree on a lot of things at the moment. Anyways, let's talk about Lindsey Graham, the old Southern dandy. I like Lindsey Graham. Do y'all like Lindsey Graham? I love Lindsey Graham, man. You know. By the way, guys, can you just let me know if you can hear me or not? I would like for you guys to let me know, because I don't want to be seem like I'm talking to myself here. Just type out in the chat if you guys can hear me, because I want to make sure that you guys are reading me loud and clear. Because if not, this will be all for nothing. Cool, got you. All right, Lindsey Graham. So I'm from South Carolina. I spent more than 30 years in South Carolina, and I've been around when Lindsey Graham was first running for U.S. Senator. My issue that I have with Lindsey Graham can be summed up in the following statement. I'm an independent journalist. Well, this is not the statement first. So I'm going to give you a little backstory. I'm an independent journalist from the state of South Carolina. I actually have a press badge. If you Google Dion McNeil, U.S. Press Association, you will see my digital press badge. So I covered Lindsey Graham. I covered a lot of politicians. In the article that I wrote about Lindsey Graham originally, and I think I'll if I can just drop it in the chat real quick. I made a statement. I said the only thing that I hate more than a hardcore Democrat is a fake Republican. Now, when I say fake Republican, you look at the Cloud Act with Dianne Feinstein and the Senate and the Congress trying to basically end end-to-end encryption. You look at the gun control bills that Lindsey Graham has supported. You look at the high taxation that Lindsey Graham supports, not only from the Senate, but also in South Carolina. A lot of people don't know that South Carolina is a red state that is one of the highest tax states in the entire union. Yeah, a so-called red state has a higher tax rate than blue states. But you want to tell me about how the Democrats want to come and take my money? Look it up. I mean, go out there and look it up. See if I'm making it up. Here's the article that I wrote about Lindsey Graham and Dianne Feinstein. And I made a funny thumbnail. If you open the article, you see the thumbnail. It's kind of hilarious. I found a picture of Lindsey Graham. He was singing his tongue out, and Diane Feinstein, she had a gun, like a Tommy gun. It was kind of funny. I made thumbnail, and I put some words in there. I was quoting like Orwell, like War is Peace, that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a kind of cool like thumbnail that I did for like the article. But basically, when you start looking at Lindsey Graham, you look at at what a Republican voter would consider to be a Republican, what a so-called red-blooded American would call a Republican. The problem that I have with Lindsey Graham is that he is the epitome of a rhino, Republican in name only. Because the reason why I'm going to vote for Jamie Harrison, who is the Democrat in South Carolina, who's running against him for Senate, the reason why I'm going to vote for him is because I want to vote for the devil that I know. I don't want to vote for a Republican and then get a Democrat. If I'm going to get a Democrat, I'm going to vote for the damn Democrat. Because I trust Jamie Harrison to act like a Democrat. I can't trust Lindsey Graham to act like a Republican. Do you get the logic here? It's about trust. If you tell me that you have an issue with a party just picking a Supreme Court pick before the general election, and then you turn around and you advocate for the exact opposite position, and it's on camera, it's no secret. I don't care how you try to explain that away. You know, mansplain, womansplain, whitesplain, blacksplain. I don't care how you try to explain that one away. That's bullshit. See, if he only just made those statements, and if he only just said that, and that were the end of it, see, that'd be one thing. But it's his actions of supporting gun control, ending encryption, support of wars, support of high taxation. See, that coupled with that statement, that's an issue for me. That's going to be a big issue for me, because I want you to understand that when it comes to Lindsey Graham, right? The people of South Carolina, we are giving him a run for his money, and we're scaring the living shit out of him because we've dealt with him for a long time. And it's one thing to go to an establishment for a product or service and then get a shit sandwich every time you go there. It's another thing when every term that I go to this establishment that serves shit sandwiches for a high price, you then claim that you got to increase the price. That I have to basically just trust you, even though the trail that you've left behind is anything but trustworthy. Do you understand what Lindsey Graham is asking me to do? He's asking me to be a prostitute, to be a slut, to be a whore, to spread my legs for him. He's asking me to bend over, to expose my wob, my wet ass boy pussy. That's what Lindsey Graham is asking me to do when he asked me to vote for him again. Because Lindsey Graham, you have fucked the people of South Carolina for years and years and years now. And we're tired of getting fucked. Our vaginas are raw now. We need a break, Lindsey Graham. Pull the dick out. Let us have a break from you. Now, that may be a very vulgar way of putting things across. It may even be unnecessary. However, it's not untrue. See, I have a lot of people come to me say that I say mean things. I say things in not the nicest way possible. And the one thing that I've always explained to those people is that if your house is on fire and someone whispers it or shouts it, and if the determining factor for you checking on your burning home is how someone told you about it, well, you're an idiot who deserves to burn down a home. And on top of that, people try to compound that by saying things such as, well, you say mean things, and then when you say mean things, you get a bad reputation. Well, first of all, I've already disproven the first part of that, but the second part of that, suppose Hitler said 2 + 2 = 4. Would 2 + 2 stop equaling 4 because Hitler said it? No, so it should not matter who I am or things that I've said. All that should matter is what I'm saying true or not. Is that true or false? I think that's true. Now, when it comes to Lindsey Graham, that's the exact opposite of what Lindsey Graham is. Lindsey Graham is a filthy, pathetic liar, and I'm a Republican saying that. He has given us, I'm going to take it even deeper. I'm going to say some things that might get this whole video taken down, but I don't care. I'm just going to say it. It needs to be said. Lindsey Graham is not only living the lives of Republican, he's living the lives of damn man. If you go down to downtown Columbia, Columbia is the capital of South Carolina. If you go down downtown Columbia, it's a LGBT bar there, and it's a gay bar. A lot of gay men there. It's also another LGBT establishment that's I can't remember the name of it, but it's connected to this place called Sakatumi's. It's right across the street from the State House, actually, in Columbia. It's if you go into either establishment, you would have asked about certain U.S. senators. Not saying Lindsey Graham, because again, I'm not gonna say some other things, but if you would have asked about certain U.S. senators from South Carolina, who might have first names that are kind of feminine in the first place, they would tell you some interesting things about his sex life. I'm not saying that you should go out and ask. I'm not saying that at all. Now you might be asking me, why do I care? Well, here's why I care, because Lindsey Graham opposed same-sex marriage. That's why I care. If you look at most of my videos, I call out a lot of hypocrites. And hypocrites that I call out are in politics or in courts and lawyers. I mean, I've done hypocritical things. I regular people have done hypocritical things, but those hypocritical things, they don't change lives. Lindsey Graham was changing lives. And that's the difference. I didn't say directly he was gay. I'm just saying, if I go down to a gay club in the capital of South Carolina and I go ask around about Lindsey Graham, and all I keep hearing is that how much he likes the wob, the wet ass boy pussy. If I keep hearing that now from all these gay men who I would have to assume would know a gay man when they saw one. You would have to assume that something's up with that. And Gabriel brought up a very good point. Yet he's not as popular in South Carolina as you think. What originally hurt Lindsey Graham, all right, because he could be a rhino and remain in politics. You see a lot of rhinos in politics. You see a lot of them. In fact, I think most Republicans probably are rhinos, to be honest with you. But the reason why he could stay in office is because Trump hadn't come along yet. And when Lindsey Graham came out against Trump and said what he said about Trump, some of the things he said, I think that removed the veil, right? So let me kind of explain this, how that happened, right? Let's say that you have someone who you're having sex with, right? Someone who you're really, really cool with. You're not really in a relationship. You just messing around with them. You mess around with them. You don't really like them, but you tolerate them. Okay. Now let's say that person comes along, and let's say that your mom says something out of the way to them, and then your mother and that person gets into an argument. Well, because that person is not really bonded to you all that well, then the true feelings start coming out. You see, and that's what happened with Lindsey Graham. The mom in that situation was Donald Trump. All right. The girlfriend in that situation was Lindsey Graham. The person that was banging him was you, the voter. So people always had an issue with Lindsey Graham. It's just that when he said what he said about Trump, that removed the shield from him. That made him vulnerable. And on top of that, Jamie Harrison, let me go ahead and tell you, man, I didn't even know he was running at one point. But I mean, like shortly after he announced, I did eventually like go ahead and, you know, talk to his office and everything else. Of course I did. But I didn't even notice it at first. But if you go to South Carolina, Jamie Harrison has spent a shit ton of money. His signs are everywhere, bro. Like, it was one point I was riding down on Two Notch Road. It's a very popular road in Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital. The capital is Columbia. And when I say I saw no less than like 100 Jamie Harrison signs, it was insane. Like, he was putting the pedal to the metal. So part of his strategy was that he understands that South Carolina, believe it or not, has a large black population, a huge black population. So what he did was he just said, you know what, guys? I'm going to hit those areas first and then branch out. See, that was a brilliant strategy. I know he did some other things, but one thing that he did that was absolutely fantastic was that he started out in the strong areas first, and then he branched out. So he basically took the anthill type of strategy. He didn't evenly disperse his resources like a lot of politicians do, because that was stupid. Because certain areas are never going to vote for you anyways, because you're black. Let's be honest. So what he did was he focused on those heavy urban centers in Greenville, in Rock Hill, Columbia, you know, Charleston, you name it. I mean, he targeted Myrtle Beach. He targeted a lot of the heavy tourist areas too, because a lot of those people, being that South Carolina is being so highly taxed, those people are very upset with Lindsey Graham. They're upset with a lot of their state politicians, and so those people are looking for a alternative. But those people, a lot of times, would feel weird voting for a black Democrat. Okay, so what needed to happen was Jamie Harrison. Part of his strategy was and again, I didn't talk to the campaign. I'm just telling you this as a journalist with a press badge from South Carolina. I'm just telling you from what I actually saw. What he did was, he took a strategy where he got people to overcrowd his support so that it made it comfortable for people who may have had an issue voting for a black Democrat to come out and go in and vote for a black Democrat. Because if it appears like your resources are just evenly dispersed, you know, people wouldn't feel the courage to step up. But when you just crowd the field in those big, dense urban areas first and then branch your way out over time, do you see what happens? It was a nice strategy. You know, it was something that I think a lot of a lot of Lindsey Graham's previous opponents hadn't even tried. You know, and not only that, when it comes to fundraising, Jamie Harrison, my gosh, I mean, I don't know where he's getting his money from, but he's breaking records, yo. Like, Lindsey Graham is on Fox News. He's sweating bullets, begging for money. It was the funniest thing in the world. He's in the fight of his life right now. He's in the fight of his life right now. Jamie Harrison, I think, is going to do it. And once that happens, I think what you're going to see is a slow change in the South. I think you're going to see something weird in the country. I'm going to make a prediction. All right. You're going to laugh when you hear this. It's a prediction that slowly within the next 100 years, the South will become Democrat, but progressive Democrat, while the North will become hardcore red, like the Rust Belt, Pennsylvania, parts of California, parts of Washington State, like Kent. You're going to see a backlash of the political left, and you're going to see the political voting landscape change. You're already seeing the beginning of it. Like right now, Biden could actually win. Joe Biden could win Georgia. Do you understand how insane that is? Georgia, no, don't tell me that he can't. I've seen polls over the past 6 months. Joe Biden has a serious shot at winning Georgia, because I've seen those polls. I mean, even the hard right polls has him at least close in that state. That's insane. He shouldn't even be competitive in that state. He should not even be competitive, but he is. Not only competitive, some might say he might actually win it. So you already seen the slow transition with Texas, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, actually. The minority population in South Carolina is actually building up. You're seeing the slow transition. So it's going to be very, very weird and interesting watching the next couple of years, And in case you don't know what I mean by the slow transition, right? I want you to look at look at the groundwork that's already been laid, right? You look at places like Washington State. Washington State already has a hard right set of gun laws. You can open carry here. You don't need a license for that. South Carolina, you actually need a license to carry to actually open carry, And in Washington State, you can just open carry. Their gun laws are lax as hell compared to South Carolina. And Washington State is a supposedly blue state. And South Carolina is a supposedly red state, which is one of the reasons why Lindsey Graham has to go. How in the world can you sit there and claim that you're a gun rights supporting Republican? Hee-haw. But your own state doesn't allow me to open carry. But I visit Washington State and I can open carry all the time. In fact, guess where I'm at? I'm in Washington State, and here's my sidearm. I go outside and I open carry all the time. I do it all the time here. So how is it that the home state that I come from as a registered Republican, a 2016 Trump voter, in a red state can't open carry, but in a blue state that has so many members of Antifa, so many feminists, so many hardcore lefties, I can open carry here and the cops don't even stop me or mess with me. See, that's why I hate this whole, I use the term left and right, but honestly, I don't really believe in it much anymore. I mean, I put that in some of my video titles in the past, but I've evolved. I've grown up past that. There's no such thing as the left and the right in this country anymore. There's only the got and the gotten. Or should I say the getting and the gotten? Because if you ain't got it, you're trying to get it. And by it, I mean money, success, women, sex, power, influence, legacy, prestige, whatever your heart desires. So one of my biggest issues with Lindsey Graham, and this goes back to the whole gun rights thing. I remember a speech that he gave when he came by the State House. It was about 4 years ago, a little maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And he was talking about some of the mass shootings and how we need to basically we need to focus on mental health. We need to focus on everything else in that, but we don't need to overreact and ban guns. And that was a very interesting perspective, because at the same time that was happening, Lindsey Graham, he was supporting the ATF, trying to find a way to ban stabilizing braces. And now, fast forward, I was watching a live stream for the Military Arms Channel. Mac, I'm a big fan of him. If you don't know who Military Arms Channel is, let me go ahead and just Google it real quick. I'm going to drop a link in the description so that you guys can go ahead and take a look. By the way, my next video, I'm going to make a video about pit bulls. So if you guys want to read my article about that, I actually won an award from the U.S. Press Association. So it's a 4,000 word article. It's a long article, but I was disproving some of the things said about pit bulls. So let me go and drop that link down there in the chat below. But aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and Google something for you real quick. When it comes to Lindsey Graham, I'm going to go with the Military Arms Channel. Stabilizing braces. And stabilizing braces, if you don't know what those are your you've ever seen the AR pistols, not the AR-15, the AR pistols, they like basically like the short barrel types of AR types of rifles. They have a stabilizing brace. And right now, the ATF is trying to ban that under the Trump administration. Now, it happened, the initial inquiry happened under the Obama administration. However, Donald Trump is the president right now. And the fact that he's not saying anything about that it's really, really bothering me. But basically, this is a video link I'm going to drop from 2017. This is a year after Trump got into office. Here it goes. Okay, so Gabriel, I'm going to ask you a question about Lindsey. Why couldn't the GOP primary come out, or the GOP and SC that's spineless, or all the SCG GOP rhinos? No, not all of them are rhinos. In fact, there's one guy you want to look up. I'm gonna give you a link real quick. So one South Carolina politicians that you guys should look up and actually support and donate money to if you get a chance. His name is Jonathan Hill. He's a state representative who represents Anderson, South Carolina. He's the one guy that's been trying to get an open carry bill in South Carolina for a long time, and a lot of the South Carolina Republicans have been resisting him. But that's a link to his actual page, and you can see all the bills that he has supported. But this guy is a hardcore, I mean, gun supporter. Like when you first walk into his freaking office, right? There's a picture on the wall of him holding this big rifle, and it's like, yeah. He's also he supports Palmetto State Armory. And for some reason, people don't seem to realize that Palmetto State Armory is headquartered in South Carolina. Because the Palmetto tree is the official tree of South Carolina, because we are called the Palmetto State. So Palmetto State Armory is literally a South Carolina armory. They make some of the in terms of price, in terms of build, they make some of the best ARs out there. I'm not advertising for them. I'm just mentioning that they do that. But he's like the one guy that would try to get an open carry bill. Well, there's others, but for the most part, no. There's a lot of right-wing Democrats there. You got to understand that a lot of these Republicans, they're not really Republicans. They're holdovers from the old Dixiecrats. Like I'll give you an example. I made a video about this guy named Luke Rankin. He's in South Carolina politics for 28 years. He's a South Carolina senator, South Carolina state senator. He's not like a U.S. senator like Lindsey Graham. So Luke Rankin, just to give you an example of the kind of rhino that you're dealing with here, and the kind of corruption that you're dealing with. South Carolina is one of only 2 states, whereas we don't get to vote on judges at all. No judges. Basically, legislators and lawmakers pick judges. So, hello, Gabby, G Wiz, how you doing? So, South Carolina is basically one of only 2 states whereas legislators pick judges, and so the person who heads the committee that ultimately decides who becomes a judge is Luke Rankin. He represents Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, the same place in South Carolina where they arrested that woman for wearing the thong. And give me a second, I'm gonna pause real quick because I know a lot of people don't believe that story, but let me look it up real quick. It's a crazy story. Myrtle Beach thong arrest, and that happened only a couple months ago, wasn't that? Yeah, it happened in August actually. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So the link to that video, I'm gonna drop that down below. So yeah, can you give me okay? So I'm gonna get to that. So when it comes to Luke Rankin, this guy, he's an attorney who sits on the Judicial Merit Selection Committee, who picks the judges. So I'm gonna say that for you again. He's an attorney that picks judges that he appears in front of. That's an example of the kind of corruption that you're dealing with in South Carolina. That's why you have the highest tax rate, probably of any red state that I've seen. It's incredibly high tax rate, incredibly high incarceration rate, incredibly high. You have the second highest weed arrest in the entire nation, second highest. One of the highest. You have some of the craziest laws out there. Some of the most draconian laws out there. They're anti-Second Amendment. They don't allow open carry, but Washington State, where I'm at right now, just visiting for like vacation, they do. So that gives you an example of the kind of corruption that you're dealing with there. You're not dealing with your honest everyday Republicans. You are dealing with people who are, let's say, well, I said it perfect the first time. They are holdovers from Dixiecrats, because Luke Rankin used to actually be a Democrat. He was actually a Democrat, and then he switched over to the Republican Party shortly after, because shortly after this big FBI sting called Operation Lost Trust. So basically, what happened with Operation Lost Trust? It's another story. It's a kind of crazy story. It was an FBI sting. You guys have got to know about this, because it's one of the craziest political stings in history. You have politicians doing quid pro quo. You had a bunch of drugs. You had all kind of crazy stuff involved. The FBI came in, started arresting people left and right, and so the Democrats still controlled South Carolina. I mean, they were the Dixiecrats. They were still the old racist party that still controlled South Carolina back during the 70s and 80s. Well, when you had a bunch of people getting knocked over, arrested, thrown in jail, thrown in prison, thrown in federal pen, the Republicans slowly started taking power, and that's part of the reason why the Republican Party took over in South Carolina, because of Operation Lost Trust. And so, if you want to know more about that, I'm gonna, it's one of the craziest things that it's actually part of American history that people don't actually know about. But I want people to know about it, so I'm gonna drop a link down below so you can read about it. It's kind of interesting, because it shows you that historically South Carolina has been corrupt. And the issue that presents is that when you haven't built a strong foundation of anti-corruption in your own state in terms of a state level, what do you think we're getting with Lindsey Graham? Because if you're getting corrupt politicians, right, on a state level, it means that politicians that you're getting out of South Carolina a lot of times are also corrupt. Because I can't say anything, I can't, I want you to I want you to hear my next point and understand what I mean by this, right? If I'm on fire, it's hard for me to notice the forest fire, right? So if I'm on fire at home, it's hard for me to notice what Lindsey Graham is doing until the world stops with coronavirus. So to answer your question, Gabriel, that's a long form of a way of answering. When the world stopped and people took a look around at what Lindsey Graham truly was, well, that's what happened. Now, to answer your other question about Lindsey, why couldn't the GOP primary him out? Well, the problem with Lindsey Graham is that he has favors. Luke Rankin likes him. The governor likes him. A lot of people like him. So he has a lot of allies. And those allies also pick the judges in South Carolina. Like, for example, Luke Rankin picks he's on the Judicial Merit Selection Committee. So let's say that the GOP tries to primary him out, and he goes to try to sue. That judge is going to automatically side with Lindsey Graham, because guess what? His friend picks the judges. So you know what the Luke Rankin is going to do? He's going to call the judge that's going to be involved in the case. He's going to say, do you want to continue to be a judge in South Carolina? Then side with Lindsey. And that's why Lindsey Graham pretty much never loses a case in South Carolina, ever. And if you go to Luke Rankin's own webpage, I pulled a screenshot from Luke Rankin's webpage. He says that he has a 99% success rate in court. His own law office says that. Now I'm gonna pull that screenshot, and I'm gonna get a picture of it. I'm gonna pop it in the chat for you. Luke Rankin, 99% success rate. Let's see, where is that? I know if not, I know that yes, I actually can pull that. Actually, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a screenshot and show you guys. But anyways, when it comes to Lindsey Graham and why people think that why he's losing so badly, it's mainly just the virus. People have noticed him now. People have just noticed him. Whereas before, people were already being highly taxed. They were already being, abused. They were already being, arrested for weed. Second highest weed arrest in the whole nation. People were so preoccupied with, what was going on in their own personal lives in South Carolina, being that it's one of the most poorest states in the whole union, to the point where they weren't paying attention to what what was going on the federal level, and I think what's truly happening, is that people have finally paid attention to what's going on the federal level, and I find that to be absolutely wonderful. I think that it's wonderful that Lindsey Graham is having nightmares, that he's worried about his job. I think that it's wonderful that he could lose. And I don't say that because I hate the guy. I say that because, once again, the only thing that I hate more than a hardcore Democrat, is a fake Republican. I just dropped a link in the chat. That is a screenshot from his own law office's webpage. And if you don't believe that's a screenshot from his own law office webpage, I'm going to drop a screenshot. I'm going to drop a link to his law office webpage for you so that you can see it in real time. I didn't make that up. And if you want to see the article that I wrote about him, it's kind of interesting. Luke Rankin, Daily Counter. One of the most popular articles written about him was written by me. In fact, the article I wrote was titled "If 1984 Was a Politician," Luke Rankin. And so, if you want to know why Lindsey Graham has so much support in South Carolina, it's because, should a lawsuit ever come, should the South Carolina, South Carolina GOP should try to get rid of him, his buddy is deeply entrenched in the courts, and his buddy picks the judges. So Lindsey Graham would win that court case. So that's why. And on top of that, he's on the Senate Judiciary Committee, so he also picks federal judges, and he also votes on Supreme Court picks, as you've seen. You understand how much power that man has, is how much shielding and protection that he has. This is why Jamie Harrison took the strategy that he did. Jamie Harrison didn't bother trying to debate him on issues. Yeah, he can debate him on issues and win. Of course he can. Anybody can debate Lindsey Graham and win on the issues if you just tell the truth, because Lindsey Graham's a liar. But what Jamie Harrison did from the start was just simply flood him with money. Because the only way that the only way that you uproot that level of corruption, you got to outspend it. You got to outspend it. Because, I remember bringing that up one time, and someone saying that well, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, she outraised him. That's also the Electoral College. On state level voting, it comes down to the popular vote, whoever gets the most votes. So, yeah, it's not exactly an apples to apples comparison, is it? So, with that being said, I think that Jamie Harrison is going to defeat Lindsey Graham, not because Jamie Harrison is so much of a better candidate, because Lindsey Graham is a shitty one. I hope that answers your question, Gabriel. You're one of my favorite viewers. Anyways, guys, this is going to be a short screen. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm going to be making a lot more content. I'm going to try to put out at least one video a week, and I give you guys my promise on that, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be turning a lot of my articles that I've already written into basically videos. And because I'm going to be doing that, I can essentially use my articles as a script. So it's going to be pretty fun. I've already done the work, so it's my work, and it's going to be kind of fun to quote myself as an actual journalist. So if you guys want to check out some of the work I've done, I don't really post much on the site anymore. I should actually, but the Daily Counter is where I do a lot of my work, and you guys can just check out the website and see what you like it. But anyways, until next time, be safe. Don't get COVID. and peace out.